Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our College Board Leader to Leader webinar series. I am Tom Leitz, Associate Director for Training and Development with the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. Say that 10 times in a row really fast and you win a prize today. I'm thrilled to have with me a start of what our panel is for today, as we have a really unique session this afternoon where we're going to talk about the state of AP in Michigan. And this is certainly broader than Michigan, but we're going to talk about some of the trends, new courses, opportunities for our students to engage around post-secondary learning while still in their secondary schools. And that, as somebody who benefited from that personally and saw literally thousands of kids going to college with a lot of credits, saving moms and dads like me a lot of money in the long run, that's really, really exciting stuff. And what I think is really neat about today's topic is that the one and only Mr. Brad Brunner has brought with him a series of guests to support this conversation. And so without any further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Brad, let him introduce the topic, the conversation, and the folks that will be joining us. So Brad, thanks again for being with us. We appreciate having you. I'll give you the floor, sir.
Much appreciated, Tom, and thanks to MASSP for hosting not only this webinar, but the entirety of the webinar series and the Leader to Leaders webinar series that we have developed. We greatly appreciate MASSP's support. So as Tom said, this webinar is designed to focus on the state of AP in Michigan, which is a very broad topic. And we'll give you a sense of where we're going. But in general, we'll look back and celebrate some achievements from the previous school year, which sets us up for what our goals are for this year, where we're going, what's happening, what are the current projections and trends, because today is November 14th. The date to order AP exams is tomorrow. So what that gives us is data on how those courses are shaping up. So we can start to draw some conclusions about what the state of AP is in this school year, right now. And so that's exciting. And then we'll look around us in Michigan with some of our partners. And the College Board has many partners in the state of Michigan. We've invited a few to join us for today, and we'll introduce them here momentarily. And they'll have the opportunity to give us some updates about things happening within their organization as it relates to our partnership with AP. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Brad Brunner, Senior Director with the College Board, and I lead the College Board's work in the state of Michigan. And I've been working for the College Board now for 3 years. Been working in the state of Michigan as a public high school teacher and administrator for just about 20 years, and even on the school board level there as well. So this is my home state, born and raised in a state that I care that its students do as well as they possibly can. And we mean that for every student. And hopefully that comes out exclusively here and in all the work that we do at the College Board, that what we do is designed for all students. So I've got my contact information there. Feel free to reach out to me at any point in time on any of the topics that you see in this webinar series that we've done with MASSP, which I've put up here. So we have in this Leader to Leader series, looking back, we've done a data webinar on the PSAT and SAT. We did a webinar on getting ready for the digital PSAT. Also a webinar on our college and career planning tool, Big Future. We had a career kickstart webinar just this past month, which was unique, as it is a CTE program that the College Board is rolling out in a pilot year. In the state of Michigan, it's growing expansively. And so we conducted a webinar to help our schools learn about that. And now we are on our State of AP in Michigan webinar, followed next month by a PSAT data webinar. So if you'd like to join us for that, that's part of the work that we do, is help schools understand their PSAT data and how it applies to overall school improvement, and in some cases there too, preparing students for college level coursework while in high school. And then our final two webinars, building a master schedule with equity and access in AP in mind. We allude to some of that, provide some updates on that for our State of AP webinar today. And then finally, you may have heard that 28 of the AP exams are shifting exclusively to digital AP exams. That's a big change. And we'll talk about how that works implementation-wise in our final webinar of the webinar series on February 13th. So if you have questions on any of those topics, those are the topics that I engage with far more often than not in my work at the College Board. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions there. So the agenda for our webinar today As I mentioned, we're looking back at the 2023-2024 school year in review, including sort of the most popular classes, the most successful classes, just an analysis of how things went in the state of Michigan. An interesting look, which sets us up to look forward. So projections for this school year. In fact, the newest AP course coming down the pipeline, which doesn't really even have a full title just yet, but there is a timeline as to when it's going to be rolled out. So I'd be happy to share that with you. Just a quick bit about our Career Kickstart program, because that is now underneath our AP program. That is a new development. So it's going to fall within that AP framework as a CTE course in cybersecurity. I wanted to share some new research that we have on project-based learning, but what that means for AP. Just a hint at where we're going with that is project-based learning works across all demographics, including low-income status, the demographics based on, in particular, underserved minorities, and it works. And it's worked in like gold standard studies. And what does that mean then for how our AP programs shape up? That's significant. And then finally, new research on AP courses, most specifically on what is the optimal number of AP courses where gains start to trend off. So some good research on that there as well that we wanted to share. And then finally, looking around Michigan, we have partners from the AP Best Practices Conference in spring 2025 when that will take place. They have a huge announcement in the world of AP for that AP Best Practices Conference. So we'll turn it over to Angela Van Houten and Chad Van Houten at that point. And then we also have joining us is Matt Vriesman from East Kentwood High School to talk a little bit about updates with AP African American Studies. And then Margaret Lafada from CS for Michigan, who's going to talk about computer science in Michigan. So that is our agenda for today. For this first part, looking back, I would ask that you be ready to drop some information into the chat based upon some answers to some very simple, kind of lower level quiz questions where you can't go wrong. But just to start, so our AP program at the College Board, we have 40 AP classes, which you might be able to see on this screen, with 40 of them very difficult to fit. On the right-hand side, we have our AP Access courses. Those are courses that are recently developed, some much more recent than others, but with the focus on the College Board's mission of clearing a path for all students to own their future by giving them accessible opportunities to take college level coursework while in high school at a younger age, so they feel and they sound and they act and they think of themselves as a college level going student as early as we can make that for a student, so they at least have that as an option or an opportunity for them. Our access courses do that, and we'll talk about how that has happened in the state of Michigan, and it's working in partnership with our partners. So looking back, so some data and stats from the 2023-24 school year. We have an enormous amount of data and research that we have at the College Board. I thought I'd toss out a few unique pieces of data that show the state of AP as it closed out the 2023-24 school year. So I have what are the top 10 most popular AP courses in Michigan based upon the total number of exams taken. I'll show you the top 10, but before I do it, I'm very curious to know like what you think was the most popular AP course by total number of exams taken. So if you don't mind, think about that, and you can't go wrong here. But name an AP class in the chat based upon which AP class you think was most likely the most popular AP course in Michigan. Not nationally, but just in Michigan. Take 10 seconds to do that, and I'm happy to see what your guesses are.
A
Got
lot of
AP
good
Psych.
guessing too. For those of you who weren't at the last webinar, I posted the link to the Career Kickstart webinar that you can view at your own leisure if you're interested in hearing a little more about that after Brad talks about it later.
Thanks, Tom. All right, we got a lot of good guesses. AP English, AP World, AP Psych, AP World History, or ELA, Microeconomics. So we've got two folks that are close. They have said the correct subject area, but not specifically the correct class, but we're very, very close. The answer to this question is the most popular AP course in Michigan is AP English, Language, and Composition. There were over 13,000 AP exams taken in this course, total number of exams taken. So that's AP English Language and Composition. That course, obviously, for the merits of understanding and having command of the English language, very popular for that and important for that. Also, too, consequentially, a symptom of it is greater growth on the reading and writing portion of the SAT and PSAT. And sometimes students take it, for that there as well, but also broadly received at the college level for college credit too. So AP English Language and Composition was our most popular, followed closely, very closely by AP US Government and Politics, and then AP US History. And those three kind of stood out. And then there was a bit of a gap, followed by AP Psychology, AP English Literature and Composition, AP World History Modern, AP Statistics, AP Calculus AB, AP Biology, and AP Chemistry. So those were our top 10 most popular AP courses in Michigan this last year. Compared to recent years, there haven't been a lot of changes in the top 10, but there are courses that are growing that aren't part of that top 10 much faster than the courses who are already sort of established kind of culturally in the state of Michigan. So let's take a look at another set of data, and here's another opportunity to make some good guesses. I have the top 5 most successful AP courses in Michigan. And this would mean then not the highest number of students, but the highest percentage of students attempting the exam who earn a qualifying score of a 3, 4, or 5. So which of the AP classes do we offer, do you think, are students who attempt it the most successful at earning that qualifying score of a 3, 4, or 5? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. I'm curious just to see what your answers might be. We've got a couple for AP Psych, AP Pre-Calc. Okay. A Push, AP Biology, CSP, CS Principal, the CSP course. Okay. All right. Well, no one has gotten it just yet. The answer is AP Research. We were close. So I think somebody said seminar. AP Research is the course where students are, well, not generally speaking, they are the most successful compared to our other AP classes. That's AP Research, followed closely by AP Chinese Language and Culture, AP 2D Art and Design, AP Seminar, and AP Calc BC. But I do have a bonus redemption question. Which AP course do you think is our most successful course for 10th grade students? That's our bonus question. So go ahead and drop that in the chat. Thinking about sophomores, which class do you think at the AP level is the most successful? A Push, I see AP Sem, Microeconomics, A Push, all very good guesses, and they all are right up there. The answer to this question is AP Seminar when dropped in as an English 10 AP Seminar course. That is nationally, that is also in the state of Michigan as our most successful AP course for sophomore students is that English 10 AP Seminar course. Another bit of data for our year in review and our final bit of data. I have the top 5 most successful AP courses in Michigan based upon the highest number of students not taking the exam, but the highest number of students earning a 3, 4, or a 5. So our final quiz question, drop it in the chat. Top 5 most successful AP courses in Michigan, highest number of students earning a 3, 4, 5, or what we've referred to again as a qualifying score. I sense some of the hope in the answers in these questions here too, that you're dropping in the chat. The answer is going back to AP English Language and Composition. That is our most successful course in the state of Michigan, AP English Language and Composition, followed by AP US Government and Politics, AP US History, and then making its way up the list is AP English Lit and Composition, closely followed by AP Psychology. So that is our looking back portion of our webinar and giving a sense of, again, just where we stand as overall participation in AP and where students see the most amount of success. And I want to touch a little bit on our mission at the College Board, reach and relevance, and how that has played out in the past 2 years. So not the past year, but the past 2 years. And this information comes from a memo released to the public by the Michigan Department of Education that when I said we try to build programs that are accessible to all students and are intentional about doing that, this is data that shows that it is working in the state of Michigan. And so here's some data I pulled that we have and that also that MDE shared just yesterday. And its enrollment in AP increased by 8,544 students over 2 years, or 12.3% to 78,275. On that note, as we help students clear a path so they can own their own future by accessing education, enrollment over those 2 years increased for all 7 racial and ethnic groups tracked: 28% for Black or African American students, 26% for Hispanic or Latino students, and 23.7% for students of 2 or more races. And this last bit we'll leave you with. I'm going to read this portion here to you. The number of Michigan students with scores high enough to receive college credit at many colleges increased by 31% over 2 years. An astronomical increase, an enormous savings to students, and allowing for more flexibility and so on when they get into high school and remove those barriers, or when they get into higher ed, and has removed some of those barriers that prevent them from moving on and graduating in a timely manner in higher education as well. So the improvements were even more dramatic among students of color. The number of Black students with qualifying scores on the exams jumped by more than 100%, with increases of 63.8% among students of 2 or more races and 60.2% for Hispanic or Latino children. The overall design of the courses that we have pushed out, all 40 AP courses, but in particular, the intentionally designed access courses are working at changing the invitation to AP, drawing the students who may not have seen themselves in that way. And now they've got opportunity to take college level courses in high school and think of themselves in that manner. That's significant. So when we say our access courses, I want to give you some updates on where we are right now with these 4 courses. That's Computer Science Principles, AP Seminar, AP Pre-Calculus, and AP African American Studies. And also, too, I wanted to mention that our pre-AP program is allowing for students to bridge that gap more cleanly from general ed into AP. That can be a big jump in rigor for some students, but that pre-AP program is providing a runway for students to access AP and be successful, or have more opportunity to be successful right away in one of our pre-AP programs, either at the 8th or the 9th grade level, or even a little bit past that. But updates on our access courses, I'm going to come back to Computer Science Principles because that course has been out now for some time and it's doing it. And we'll show you the data on how that is attracting a type of population that we look to serve that historically we have not as done as well as we would like to, especially now. So for AP Seminar, if you haven't seen that course, it's absolute student agency of learning as they choose what they would like to study. And then they read about it, they speak about it, they research it, and so on. It's a project-based learning course where they apply this knowledge to some challenge in their community, something about their family, something that is concerning to their generation of kids, but something that the child cares about. It engages the child in the design of the course. Again, it's a project-based learning course. You see that down below with AP Computer Science Principles. You're going to see that trend with one of our other access courses here in a moment. Then AP Pre-Calc, this class is growing quickly, and I should have mentioned AP Seminar. We have doubled the participation. I looked at the numbers this morning. It has doubled from last year. AP Pre-Calc also has doubled from last year as well. This course is designed for seniors. It doesn't have to work that way, but for seniors who in 8th grade weren't on track to take any calc-based sort of math class while they were in high school that would earn them college credit, such as an AP course or a dual enrollment course. This course allows for students to take the assessment and test out of that introductory math level course, which is the single biggest barrier, particularly for underserved populations of kids going into a STEM field. So that course is growing when schools find the right placement there for it. And AP African American Studies, the content of that curriculum, the relevance of that, which Matt will speak about here momentarily, the sense of belonging that kids get out of it. These are the types of courses that like cure the issues that schools see most significantly beyond AP, but chronic absenteeism and disengagement. These courses draw students in primarily because of the content of the curriculum, how it connects to the child, and the project-based learning components of it. In the state of Michigan, we have tripled participation in AP African American Studies. That goes out to the work that we do at the College Board, but just as importantly, the work that we do with our Department of Education, MASSP, MCAN, EOS, One Goal, and all of our partners that have access and equity at the forefront, just to name a few. In computer science, I'd mentioned that this course is doing exactly what we would like the other three courses to do. It has changed the invitation to AP. In gray, you see the enrollment numbers in AP Computer Science A. And then when Computer Science Principles was developed as a project-based learning course, again, student engagement in the learning through agency of learning, it has quadrupled the number of female students in these two courses, quintupled for Latino students, sextupled the amount of Black students, and quintupled for rural students. So computer science was sort of the testing ground for developing a course accessible and attractive to all students. And our other courses are based off of that primarily through that project-based learning component. So as we look forward to the future of AP in Michigan, I've alluded to it enough where you know where this could be going, is in project-based learning in AP. And what that means, there's so much left to be decided, but it doesn't all have to be decided at the AP program level. This can be you, the individual teacher. But over the course of the past few years, the College Board conducted a study, and actually we didn't conduct it, it was done by the George Lucas Educational Foundation, their educational research division. They conducted a study of schools that were offering AP US Government and Politics and AP Environmental Science in urban schools, where there was a diverse mix of students based on race and also based on income status. And in these schools, they trained the teachers to use project-based learning. The project-based learning style that they use, or the methodology they use, was knowledge in action. Right? And that project-based learning involves students basically conducting 5 projects using information that they'd learned in government and politics or in environmental science. And by the time the students were done with the first year, the results were promising. And after the second year, we were able to draw conclusions. And this was a randomized sample study, randomized control trial. This is the gold standard in research. And what we found among all groups, underserved minorities and the general education population of students otherwise, based on low income status or not, there was an 8% increase in students achieving a qualifying score on the AP test compared to the national sample. And so that study challenged the assumption that project-based learning wouldn't have the same outcomes that the standard instructional techniques used in AP would have. It's challenged that assumption, and it's gotten the attention of the College Board without question. It should. And any teacher on this conversation, we would hope that this would get your attention there too, is how you think about how you approach that content if the outcomes across all demographics are similar. I mean, this is access, right? A type of teaching and learning style that works for all students, that removes a barrier. So with that said, what does that mean for current courses? Well, you can see in those 3 out of 4 AP Access courses, project-based learning is at the heart of it as it engages students, relevance of the learning, agency of the learning, application, usability, so on. That is meaningful to the child in the 21st century, if you will, but it's meaningful to the current student. And so with that said, think about how you can approach that as an individual teacher. And then at the program level in AP, we're thinking about how not only the courses that we're developing, but the courses that we've already developed would make sense to be approached in a project-based learning fashion and what that would look like. And should we do that? And which courses should that happen? And which should it not? Or should there be options to teach it in a project-based learning format or not? The College Board already does provide training in project-based learning. So if you're interested in it, you can participate in that training, but be prepared for changes to institutional current courses to be shaped to match what we are seeing out of this groundbreaking study. So there also is some new research too that came out this year on the optimal number of AP exams. And so the research shows a couple different things. On the left-hand side, this is the number of AP exams taken. The right-hand side, this chart is the number of AP exams scoring 3 or more. And here in this first chart, the number of AP exams taken is the predicted first-year GPA. And so you can see the predicted first-year GPA trails off at about kind of 4 or 5 AP exams taken. So that gives some sense of what might be an optimal number of AP tests if this is what the student's goal is. But then the number of AP exams for the students demonstrating success, you see the grade point average continue to increase over time for the students that we track. Additional AP participation and success is positively related to degree completion. So same qualifying descriptions at the bottom of each of these two charts, but there's the predicted probability of earning a degree. And it trails off again about 5 exams here on the number of AP exams taken, and the number of AP exams scoring a qualifying score, it continues to increase. So we'd encourage like school counselors and principals and so on to use that when you're thinking about the number of AP exams that you offer and how many of them you allow students to enroll into and how you advise students on that as well, which is certainly situational up to the individual, but there's some data behind that. I also wanted to share what our new next AP course will be. The next AP course recently announced, sort of low key on our website, but will be an AP Business Principles course. I do know some conversations behind the scenes about how this is going to shape up and work, which is always the great conversation happening in AP when we roll out a course, is it goes through a variety of different stages of study. And so right now we're conducting field tests on the initial course framework, and they'll continue to happen next school year. And then 2026-27 will be a soft course and exam launch to nearly 800 schools. So sometimes we kind of cap it when it's launched, and sometimes we don't, just kind of depends on the course. But you can expect then to be some availability in that 2026-27 school year. And then fall 2027 is the course and exam launch in schools that meet the stated requirements. Much more to come. I'm not going to delve into that on this call here, but much more to come there. So stay tuned. But AP Business Principles is the next course. If you are interested in being a part of that course, your school is, there's a QR code for you to link up then to that interest form. I mentioned briefly, and this was our whole last webinar was on, is Career Kickstart. This is the College Board's first delve into the CTE realm with a 2-year cybersecurity pathway, and it will be an AP course in some capacity. Now, I say that with some capacity. We are in the pilot phase, so this is when those things get flushed out, but it is now under our AP program. So to a large degree, then this will be an AP course in some capacity. That's certainly how we're talking about it now. So check in on that last webinar that Tom was mentioning earlier if you'd like more in-depth information about Career Kickstart. If your school is interested in piloting the course, the application for the pilot is due tomorrow. So you need to get that in and to the College Board if you want to be considered to be a part of that Career Kickstart course. Okay, so to our partners, as I mentioned, we have our individuals from the AP, organizers of the AP Best Practices Conference in the spring, which is a phenomenal opportunity for teachers to engage with teachers and other individuals from the College Board and so on in education, ready to talk about the Best Practices Conference coming up and the work that they do around that. And as well, we'll have Matt Vriesman from East Kentwood talking about AP African American Studies, and Margaret Lavrada is going to join in for us with computer science for all. So with that said, Angela, I am going to turn it over to you, and I'll drive the slides for you. Just let me know when you'd like me to go from one slide to the next. Thanks, Angela.
Can you guys hear me on here?
Well, Chad is here too. Great, Angela and Chad.
There you
Hey,
go.
Chad.
All right. You guys can hear me across here? Sorry, I'm joining from my cell phone today. Oops.
Yep, we can hear you, Chad.
We can hear you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at slides. Sorry, changing things. Well, hey, first, thanks everybody, Brad specifically for having us here today. Obviously, I'm an AP teacher here in West Michigan, And our company here that we've made is called Advanced Education Consultants. It started because of my passion for AP, where I was both a AP teacher, but also a would go to the AP read and do things with NIMSY and do things with a lot of the College Board. And I really enjoyed getting together with other AP teachers of my discipline because I was the lone AP biology teacher right in our school, and we enjoy when I would get with other AP teachers, I'd end up with really more understanding of concepts, getting new ideas, etc. Right, and so what we do is we try to connect AP teachers specifically in West Michigan. So Brad, go ahead and go to the next slide there. So who we are, I started this with a friend of mine, Luke Wilcox, who you guys probably maybe have heard of if you know any, if you're in the AP statistics community. Matt Vriesman also has presented, he's going to say, has presented at our conferences in the past as also. But as this has grown, I've passed off about 98% of the responsibility to Angela here, and she runs absolutely everything as our event manager. So any questions, any comments, anything about those can definitely go to her, and she'll respond and get you in the right place. But we wanted to show you the two things that we're probably most known for in the area. The first coming up here is our AP Best Practices Conference. And like I said in the intro, the goal is to provide a space for teachers to share best practices throughout all AP disciplines. So last year we had, I think, 19 different subjects represented from the AP community, where teachers from anywhere within kind of Michigan, even some from Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, came up and we shared best practices. We always have a keynote speaker. Last year it was Dave Stewart Jr., who I'm sure probably people know of. And then this year, thanks to Brad's help, it's Trevor Packer, which I'm sure if you're in the AP community, you know who he is. Registration is there, flyers there. He's going to give us a huge update on the state of AP, not just in Michigan, but throughout the United States. And this is a great conference for groups to come to, share best practices, get to connect with an English teacher that teaches their English, or like me, connect with a biology teacher teaches biology that you may otherwise not be able to do. We do it right after all the AP tests are done. So it's the Tuesday after the last AP test. And we have some nice breakout sessions. The schedule's linked there. Schedule's still being developed for this year. And then Trevor would do a speech. We'd have lunch together, and we'd all go in the afternoon to our respective disciplines for a nice little breakout session. Okay. On top of that, we brought Angela on to expand what we offer. So Brad, you can go to the next slide there. And we last year, she built us an APSI in West Michigan. And that is designed for training of AP teachers. A lot of times they're new AP teachers, new subject, and you can go to these all over the United States, but it's so much nicer if you can go to one local, right? And so we've built one locally here. It's now up to 14 different subjects that we offer. There's the week. This year we've partnered with Granville Public Schools, and we're going to have it at Granville, which is nice because then you have chemistry rooms and biology rooms and regular teaching rooms, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of our AP consultants are also AP best practices session leaders. So your teachers could meet them first and kind of get a little taste of what they're going to experience. So in conclusion, we do have some expansion plans. The AP Best Practices Conference has gone so well. We're kind of working with Brad and thinking about maybe we should run one on the east side of the state also, which we think would be really cool. People wouldn't have to drive as far, et cetera. And then also we've considered doing a mock reading. If you've seen those before, making a mock reading conference. ATIP down in kind of the states below us there in Indiana and such run something like this. And we think it could be really valuable for our AP community in the area. Brad, if we still have 1 minute, I'm happy to show our video, but if I've used my time, that's okay also, you know?
We couldn't get the sound on the video to work,
Okay.
so unfortunately we won't be able to show the video.
No
but
worries.
It is linked, and folks, we do send out all of these slides there to you. Those will come from Tom at MASSP, and the link, it's all embedded right in there. It's clickable right from the PDF.
Perfect. All right. Well, any questions? Like I said before, I know I was delivering the speech here, whatnot, but any questions, feel free to email Angela and she'll be able to handle it all.
Thanks, Chad and Angela. We really appreciate it. And what they've got going on in the area is outstanding. And it's unlike what I see in many other states throughout the U.S. It's something designed by teachers for teachers with experts in these given areas. So I would encourage you to think about how you can get yourself to this conference, in particular, like with Trevor Packer being there, like he is it in AP. If you're in the AP world, you know this. I remember back in 2020 during the COVID time period, and I was hanging on every word that Trevor Packer was saying about how we were going to approach the AP exams. But he is inspiring, motivating. He will talk to you about the what's happening, what's going to be happening, the future of AP in a way that only he knows because of his position. And so, with that said, I would highly encourage you to join and be a part and register for that AP Best Practices Conference, as well as the APSI. Angela and Chad, was there anything else that you guys wanted to add?
I don't think so. We are anticipating a really great turnout this year for Trevor Packer. Space will be limited, so registration is open, and I would encourage you to go ahead and register if that's something you're interested in.
All right. Thank you, Angela and Chad, for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you have questions for them, they've got their contact information here and the PowerPoint, or also you can go to the website using the QR code and so on to reach out to them as well. Thanks, Angela, Chad. Greatly appreciate the partnership. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Vriesman to talk a little bit more about AP African American Studies. Tom, do you see Matt? I saw him chiming in the call. Matt, are you on?
I'm here. Hello.
There he is. Okay, you've popped up. All right, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you. And like I said, just let me know when you want me to move the slides.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, you can go to the first slide. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I'm always really excited to talk about this course. Actually, since I just am following the best practices, as a teacher, I have to go through a lot of PD that I don't always think is the best use of my time. But let me tell you, the AP Best Practices Conference is by far the best PD I do every single year. It's just teachers getting together, talking about what's the best thing that they do in their class and exchange emails. So I have no idea if you were an AP teacher why you wouldn't be at that conference. So it's a brilliant conference. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about AP African American Studies, which I've been teaching for, it's my 17th year. And this is the coolest thing that I've ever been a part of. So if you are involved with the school who's on the fence of, is this going to work for us? Should we do this? Yes, take this on. AP African American Studies is uniquely empowering. And I've had just some of the most meaningful, not some, but the most meaningful moments of my career have happened just in last year's pilot. We were part of the pilot, and this year it's expanded at our school. We doubled the amount of students who are taking it. And one thing I always want to tell people who are maybe thinking about using this course, it's the only AP course I know that when they make a decision, it gets in the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post. And sometimes that can be scary to people when you see the press and you see it, it's kind of political. But I really, really, really encourage you to seek out stories from teachers or students who have been actually involved in the day-to-day work. And I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and all I ever hear is positivity. And that is not something you always hear. Teachers are my favorite types of people in the world, but sometimes teachers, we grumble, we have some problems with this or that. This course, every time I talk to someone about it, people are just hungrier to be able to do it even better, because we see, we're just rolling it out. It was just the pilot last year. We're still building a lot of the resources. And everyone just has positive things to say. So these are some quotes I have from my students. Last year we had the press come in a few times and ask students, and sometimes they'd ask them the same questions. I actually don't even have this quote up there that I'm thinking about right now. The press would come in and ask students what they thought about the controversy surrounding the class. And by the end of the year, I just had students kind of like brushing that off. Like, why do you want to, one of my favorite quotes was a student said, skip the haters, because if you would just come to this class and see how we can learn about our culture and the way that we look at the world in a different way, and the way that we understand how much we are a part of our community and how we have the power to make changes, then you wouldn't want to even be talking about people who are trying to criticize the class because they don't know what they're talking about. And that was like word for word I would hear from every single student, and it always blew me away. I love this quote from one of my students last year. He was just a fantastic student, and school wasn't always on his mind, like academics, but he would come to this class and he would be like, wow, this is so interesting every day. I've never had a class that was this interesting. I love this quote. He told a reporter, I've gone home and talked about this stuff. I haven't done that since elementary school. And for him, that was the most mind-blowing thing, that he'd be going home and he'd be talking about school to his parents because it was so interesting. He's like, that's not typically what I do, but this class is thought-provoking and it's empowering. This was up on the screen as well is a write-up from when my students and I were invited to go speak to the Michigan Department of Ed, the board meeting. And what came across from every single student was how this class was giving them just more confidence in their like day-to-day lives and seeing themselves differently. And I underline this part. They came and they just said, you know, this class empowers me to see myself as a stakeholder in my community. And I just had multiple, I didn't like coach them to give that answer, but multiple students said that in their own words. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, isn't this the entire purpose of the education system? And this class is delivering that. So I also love this quote from another student. She says, I honestly think everyone should have to take this class. And that is something that I also tell anyone who wants to listen to my opinion about it. This class is for all students. Everyone can get something out of it. And the more students get into the history of Black political history, Black cultural history, they will understand how much Black culture impacts all of our day-to-day lives. And it's just embedded in everybody's story. You can go to the next slide as well. And one thing I wanted to share, I have a website where I am trying, every time that I have extra time, I'm trying to add my lessons. Everything is totally free. So if one drawback to getting involved in a brand new AP class, if there's not as many teacher created resources that work really well. We have AP Classroom now. We didn't during the pilot. So the College Board is giving us more and more resources, but sometimes the best lessons for every AP class, I was just talking to the AP Lang teachers about, one thing that is this lesson with Dr. King's letter from Birmingham jail. And they were like, yeah, every AP Lang teacher does this. And I know in APUSH and AP World, we have those, everybody does this lesson. We don't quite have a lot of those yet in AP African American Studies. So what I'm trying to do is at least get the ball rolling there. And so here are the things that I'm doing in class that are the most effective, the ones that students like, the ones that lead us to the deepest conversations. So if you're thinking about getting this class started, do it. I've never had more support from my classroom, just from the Michigan Department of Ed overall. The Michigan Department of Ed is has been very supportive of this class and has reached out. It's like, hey, how can we assist you? How do we help spread this class? So I just want to take away any apprehension anyone might have if this might stir the pot too much in their community. Get over that and offer the course. Your students need it, and we're building resources to get your teachers off the ground. And yes, everything positive. Take AP African American Studies, offer AP African American Studies. It's amazing. So do it.
Thanks, Matt. And I should have mentioned earlier that these AP Access courses are our fastest growing courses. That's part of the state of AP here, is that these are growing faster than anything else that we're offering. And with what Matt just said about this course, you can see why. It's very clear, particularly with high quality teachers like Matt giving opportunities to students to make this course work for them, accessible to them, and inspiring to them. And he's part of that. And so we appreciate, Matt, the work that you're doing with this course and how you are working to engage students, not just in your school, but in the state of Michigan and regionally as well. So thanks for joining us on the webinar, Matt. Very much appreciated.
Oh, Brad, I had one more stat I wanted to share that I forgot to share. I'll keep it.
Go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Ben, you mentioned it, and that helped me think of it. You were talking about creating a sense of belonging for students. And we know that, maybe it's hyperbole to say we have a crisis of belonging in Michigan public schools, but maybe that's not too strong of language. We have so many students who report that they do not feel that they belong in their school. And we also know that those numbers are much higher for students of color. And of course, there are so many different ways where we create student belonging through different extracurriculars. And our school district, we're doing a lot of work with circles and good news and all these different ways you can create belonging. I'm actually not one of those teachers who's really good at the best practices for creating belonging, about talking about, I don't know, however teachers do that in a really great way. I'm more of just like a content guy. I'm really excited about the content. I want to talk about the content. And my students reported, I give my students a survey as well. My students reported 94% of students in AP African American Studies said they felt that they belonged to a classroom community. And they also said that the question is, does this class make you think about issues of race and racism more critically? There's 100% yes to that question. And around Michigan public schools, most students in our state say they are not pressed to think about issues of race and race more critically. And they also say they don't feel that they belong in their community. This class does that, like, to a T. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we have the stats to back it up. So this is just another reason why this class is not just an incredible, empowering class. It's just best practice education. So offer AP African American Studies. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, many positive consequences for taking the course, and that being one of them. We talked about chronic absenteeism and how students engage in a course where they think the curriculum is relevant to who they are. That does that. That has positive consequences that go beyond the classroom or the content, but into the school and the school community, right? And so thanks for bringing us back and lifting that comment there, Matt. Thank you. And I'd mentioned also too that CS for Michigan was going to drop in and talk about the course that has done what we're doing with the AP Access courses. It's changed the invitation to AP and has made it work. And so with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Margaret LaFata to talk about CS for Michigan and how they've helped do that in Michigan. Margaret?
Hi, thank you, Brad. I'm Margaret LaFata from Grand Valley and CS for Michigan Collaborative. I'm actually going to pass this off to Larry, our program manager, to discuss some of the things that we're doing here in Michigan. Larry.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret. And so I'm going to give a little bit of backdrop as well as give a little bit of landscape that emphasizes even more the importance for computer science principles and even CSA. And so we're coming to you as CS for Michigan. It's a newly developed collaborative. It's educators, business professionals, state employees, nonprofits all coming together, trying to move Michigan forward. A lot of this work is supported through the MASSP Network, Advisory Council grant funds. It also is what provides a lot of the scholarships for teachers to take professional learning in computer science principles. Brad, you can go ahead and move to the next one. So this is our team, just so that you are aware if you ever see emails from us or communication. We're all from Grand Valley State University. We are program managers and coordinators. Margaret's our professional learning specialist who is running all professional learning. I'm handling more of the side of convening partners all across the state. So go ahead, Brad. So the first thing I want to talk about is there is a policy out there that you may be aware of. If you've already may have talked about this, I just wanted to give a quick update. The policy is all high schools are to offer computer science in Michigan. This is sweeping across the nation between either requiring to offer or requiring to graduate. But where we're at here in Michigan is it has passed the House, it has passed the Senate Education Committee, and it will be on the Senate floor at some point soon. If it does pass, it will likely come into play in 27 and 28 school year. Folks that are talking about this, they're saying it's likely going to pass in the lame duck season. But what we're recommending, the collaborative, is we're recommending hitting AP CS principles as that way to solve this problem. And so if you're a school district that is still looking to get computer science situated, especially at the secondary level, CS principles is one of the easiest accessible ways to get that in place. It's accessible to all students. It is AP focused, but it also can start as non-AP as well, as a way to kind of have a scaffolding up to that AP level. So as I was saying, the collaborative, we have funding that is supporting educators to go through this training. My team, we have been in this space providing this professional learning since about 2017. We've had probably close to 500 various educators in Michigan that have gone through this, and not one has paid anything for registration, hotel, or meals. And so we do got a good amount of funding behind this, a good amount of push. So we're recommending it for all educators to give it a try. Additionally, with that policy, we are looking at developing implementation guides as well as various resources to go along with it. Go ahead, Brad. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's a policy that's coming out. You may have been aware of this one last year, but it's funding. It's called Section 99B. And so it's grant funding for professional learning around computer science. It's a great way to push CS principals or even develop a learning network within your district or in your area. This year, it dropped from 4 million to 500,000, but that is still available to all districts. The focus, though, is going to be on to new to CS school districts. And so if you are a school district that doesn't have CS principals yet in place, this is a great opportunity to receive some funding that will support that educator or educators to get that learning situated. Comes along with script visioning workshop. If you don't know anything about that, it helps a district plan computer science K-12. And so it lines it all the way up to that AP CS principles. And then once again, the collaborative is planning on providing implementation guides as well as some PL catalog to understand what you can apply those funds for. And if you want to get a leg up within the link there, the underlying piece, that is the grant documentation from last year. I was told that it probably won't change very much from this year. So go ahead, Brent. So what is needed to implement CS? And CS is still a new space. I think for a lot of folks here in Michigan, we have standards that got adopted back in 2019. They're the CSTA standards. CS principles has been booming, as Brad was mentioning earlier. The amount of students that are taking it, the amount of courses that are out there are increasing. It's really hitting the equity button as well as increasing the amount of women as well as the amount of students of color moving into the tech field. And so this is a great way to, as Matt was talking about, give a sense of belonging for students, giving them an opportunity to open doors for a potential career down the road. And so I wanted to mention here the questions that are coming up. The biggest one is, who can teach computer science principles? Who can teach computer science in general? The Department of Education has removed the endorsement for computer science. And so the only thing that you truly need is a teaching certificate within the grade level that you're teaching computer science. So a secondary teaching certificate and some knowledge behind computer science, something that gives you evidence to say that you have credibility to teach it. Well, MDE has recognized the code.org's professional learning, the one that we put on specifically, as ways to say this teacher has what it takes to teach at an AP level. The curriculum that code.org provides is endorsed by the College Board as well. So we offer, like I said, we offer that training at no cost. It's scholarshiped, it's provided through grant funds, hotel, lodging, travel, meals, the whole gambit. We run it every single summer. We have about 200 to 250 educators between all our programs that come. And typically what happens is one teacher gets in, they start seeing all the other trainings and all the other work that happens. And all of a sudden a district now has a whole K-12 computer science pathway when it just started with one educator. So we have a link there at the bottom where it's our interest form. I believe Margaret's going to throw it in the chat for you as well. Around January is when our marketing for all our scholarships and applications come out. And if you fill out that form, you will get access to an email as soon as that marketing is available. We haven't had too many issues with filling up workshops. We had it, I believe last year was the first time we actually had to cut off applications since we just ran out of space. But I do recommend getting in as soon as possible. If you are interested in getting CS principals in your school district, the things to be considering: one, find that passionate teacher that wants to teach CS, the one that really wants to take it and accelerate with it. But then the second one is making sure that you're going through your school policy to make sure that it gets into your course catalog for 25-26 school year. One of the biggest barriers we've seen for implementation is it got into that policy system, that curriculum approval, a little bit too late, and then they had to push it off to the next school year beyond that. So those are the two things that we recommend. So our last slide here is just to sum it all up. Some of the key takeaways between legislation, funding, as well as a lot of the materials here. I mean, the big thing is computer science is booming. It's moving fast. The nation is moving fast with this. And I highly recommend every single district consider getting CS principals within the school. It's easy to access. Students love it. They're successful at it. And it makes students feel like I can actually go into this career field where it may have felt more magical still for them. So thank you, Brad, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Larry, and thank you, Margaret, for your time. We greatly appreciate it. That does bring us to about our close of the state of AP in Michigan. And I would say it this way. Michigan has highly diverse numbers of AP courses that are offered, and it's growing in ways that is providing numerous opportunities to students where it didn't exist before, especially with our AP Access courses. Thank you for our partners in doing that good work and focusing on those courses as well as just AP in general. So I would close the webinar by saying, Tom, the state of AP in Michigan is strong. And I thank everyone that is with us here today for joining us. You're typically the people that are directly working with students and doing that good work that requires excellent people to make sure it happens. So thank you for joining us for the webinar. Again, thank you to our
Brad?
partners and MASSP for hosting.
Before we close down, you had a question. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you guys or CSP folks answer, which was a question about, can the CSP count as a fourth math credit for graduation? I know we counted it as a math credit in my high school. When I was there, we offered the CSP course. And it may require just some crosswalking, but do you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had this conversation with the Department of Education multiple times. Yes, CS principals can count as a fourth year math credit. They do have an FAQ document that does lay that out if you are looking for evidence. But like you said, Tom, as long as you're crosswalking it, as long as it's situated, as long as your math standards are being covered, CS principals can definitely count for the fourth year math credit.
Any other questions out there before we let our panelists go? We appreciate everybody being on. Certainly appreciate the wide array of expertise that was on this call. We love having guests, and we appreciate Brad bringing this collection of experts to play today. So any other questions? All right, seeing none. Well, Brad, again, thank you very much. Our next webinar is about PSAT data. That one is going to be on December 18th. There was a date change, I believe, on that one, December 18th. I'm going to drop in the link, and I'll also send, or in the chat, I'll also send this out with the follow-up if you're interested in registering for that one. But we appreciate everybody's time. Since we won't see you until then, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone. And we'll see you back in December for the next of this series. Take care, all.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.